Should you watch the Hail Mary Project? Whew, I'm gonna say yes. And spoiler alerts, I'm just gonna break down the movie and why I was crying so much. Okay, so we have a rare opportunity. My wife and I have date night, and so we actually were able to go watch the Hail Mary Project. We weren't too sure about too much of what it was about. We watched a short trailer, and we were like, okay, PG-13, probably won't be too trashy. Let's give it a whirl. I was thoroughly happy with it, and I'm not gonna wait until the end to give it my score. I don't usually give films higher than like a 9.2. I think Lord of the Rings, maybe the first was a 9.3, then Helm's Deep was 9.2, then the third 9 or so. There's been a few other films like The Matrix probably get 8.9. So I rank films pretty heavy. I don't like to give perfect tens because I don't. There's always something kind of wrong with it. I haven't watched a film where I was like, masterpiece. But Lord of the Rings was the closest. The first one I've watched that like 100 times. Yeah. So this film I would probably say right off the bat, it's like an 8.6, 8.7. Just lights out, beautiful storytelling. Had a nice momentum feel. Had the dual storytelling. The kind of what's going on, where's the trauma, why is it so hard to remember, and then it also has this total emptiness, this void, this loneliness, this hurt, this pain, this bewilderment that Ryan G is going through. I can't even remember the guy's name. Oh no, it's Grace. Yeah, Grace. Dr. Grace was going through in the spaceship. It was just unbelievably beautiful. Like the cinematography was gorgeous. The colors. It made, for the first time in a while, I felt like I was actually in a spaceship in the middle of nowhere, and just had that feeling of absolute voidness. And it caused me to question so many things that I would be doing in a situation like that. Like, how would I have handled waking up? And again, spoilers alerts. How I'd end up waking up to nothingness. How I'd be feeling, and the vibes that it gives you throughout the movie. Really, I think that's what really. I don't know how it is for everyone else, but that really encapsulates a movie. If I can get lost in the what would I do in this situation, it just really made me ponder and think quite heavily about how I would feel if I was completely alone, if the crew was dead, if I was to be asking questions of my existence and trying to re-piece together who I was as a person. The flashbacks were they weren't so much that it destroyed the narrative of the story. They were just enough to be able to build the background, just enough to show the loneliness that people can have on Earth, even if they're about to go out and save the Earth. And man, just the calm humor, the humor that has to be held together by one person without anyone else. When a comedian or a story can hold that kind of aura, right? Where the jokes still hit because they're jokes that would be funny if you were alone. And in this case, Dr. Grayson, played by Ryan Gosling, was. And I just thoroughly impressed with the side cast, with the cast on Earth primarily, obviously, since there's no one really out there with them, except, dun dun dun, spoiler alert, Rocky. And I must say, Rocky was just so, and maybe some people will get this term, but he was so Grogu. He was just so cute, so interesting, but at the same time, there wasn't anything cute about him. I'm always taken aback. I guess this is the father side of me that has always been there. I've always been taken away by movies like Monsters Inc., where Mike meets Boo, or like the character Tintin and Snowy, how Snowy interacts with the world. And this was just another classic situation where with the Mandalorian and Grogu, and now Dr. Grace and Rocky, because this Rocky character that they were able to build and portray in this movie uh, had me tearing up left, right, and center. And the character of Rocky was just like this extremely mature, wonderful, aged, mechanical character. But it was just, they were just such a big kid. And the little love story, where him and his partner have been together for 186 years and it's not enough. There's just so many beautiful nuances in this film that I really highly suggest you watch it or stream it, or whenever you're watching this, please take a few seconds to look at the trailer if you're skeptical, and set aside 2.5 hours, especially with people you love, and just watch a mini masterpiece. Ryan G's acting, I remember him in Young Hercules on YTV in the mornings. Like, it was probably like a show from the States or whatever. But I used to watch him, and he was always such a goofball. And he became this, I guess you could say, sex symbol, and he's been in The Notebook and all these other famous movies. But he's always had that goofballness to him, and he nailed it in this. I'm so jacked for him. He nailed it. He absolutely nailed the role so well. You felt vulnerable with him. You saw how good of an actor he was. And again, anyone who, like a Tom Hanks in Wilson, anyone who can, bust out an acting job with quote unquote an inanimate object, where they're assumed they're talking to some, themselves or a puppet or whatever might be off screen, just goes to show the professional, I can't even think of the word right now, just the acting abilities of Ryan G is just phenomenal. I have rarely seen a character that engaged with a non-living creature that had to be produced by, I assume, CGI or AI or whatever it was. Oh man, just you felt it. You felt the angst. Again, spoiler alert. You felt the angst in the scene where, he's aching for Rocky to come back after Rocky saves his life, and he's laying beside him, and the times when they put their heads against each other and they just lean into the glass, that stuff had me tearing up. And it was also because, Rocky kind of reminds me of my little daughter, one of my littlest one, and the way she interacts with the world and how much fun she's having. And granted, this character is probably like 200, 300 years old or whatever, but they were trying to show like a different species and something cute, which was another thing I thoroughly enjoyed, is that you got the little bit of the angst of the, the Alien series. You got a little bit of an angst of all the different forms of, fear of the unknown, but it didn't last very long. And you found this remarkably cute, interesting relationship between Dr. Grace and Rocky, which their differences were very much there. But their hearts and the theme of bravery for both of them was unbelievable. And I even loved what they did. The writer, I think he wrote The Martian as well, Andy something, I can't remember offhand. But one thing I really liked that he did was that he didn't even give the audience a chance to think that there'd be some kind of rivalry in the future. Because both of these, or like, there'd be some kind of issue between like races in the future, because the humans and this rock-like character, they cannot really exist on each other's planes. They would basically vaporize, and they would basically die or suffocate if they were in the other's planet or hemisphere. They run on different energy, and they communicate vastly differently. But that didn't take away from the necessity for people, the necessity for these two creatures to come together to defeat a common foe, and in this common foe is, and again, spoiler alert, was bacteria. I loved all of those little nuances that the writer wrote in a time where people are so divided. It was just so nice to watch people working together for once. And there was what was really nice is there was also some undertones of Christianity in there, like the main captain of the entire enterprise that was leading this expedition off Earth to this other planet. She talked about, believing in God and there being no other explanation that makes sense. There was some Christian hymns, or a hymn that kind of was in the background towards the end. And there was this really nice thread of theism in the scientific world. And not to say that I would ever, condone, not condone, that I would ever write a film with aliens in it personally, especially in our plane of existence, or like making things like, how do you say, making things in our reality that are not biblical, that wouldn't have a godly premise. Like I just don't believe aliens in the way other people believe in aliens. I believe that there's many types of beings and spiritual beings that may come to Earth one day and say that they are aliens or extraterrestrials, and I think they are from the demonic realm, the spiritual realm. I believe something like that. So, I wouldn't say this was like a Christian film or had Christian undertones or overtones. I just say it was nice to see the scientific world or realm being maybe not challenged, but having this idea that there is a creator and that it's the only thing that kind of makes sense to this person who's supposed to be one of the smartest people in the world and can put things together. And it was nice to see that and feel that. And so as a Christian myself, it was beautiful to see people working together for a common goal. And granted, it was because it was like the stars were dying, and there were problems happening throughout the universe and they had to work together. But I wonder what heaven will be like, and how different species or things that we've never seen before, how we will interact with them, how wonderful and cute and amazing and visually stunning they'll be. And I think that's what caused me to tear up multiple times. There's some hardships that our family's going through a little bit right now, and it was just so nice to be immersed in a place and in a situation where there was a good common goal and where there was vulnerability in characters. And so like across the board, without giving away all the stories and everything that happens in the film, I just loved the storytelling, the color temperatures, the director of photography, and what they did with the shots, the angles. I loved Ryan G's acting. Rocky was one of the cutest characters I've ever come across. There was tons of bravery in it. You saw some beautiful concept art. The idea of the evil or the bad was so well thought out and created such mystery in your mind as to what it could be, and gave you moments of, even little moments of like a musical or like an art show. It was just so well done. And I rarely say that. Like I think maybe last year, the most recent Superman was hopeful. And the year before that, maybe it was Knives Out that I really enjoyed. And before that, there was like multiple years where it was bleak. Like I couldn't even give it like an 8 to just about anything that I saw. Maybe I missed a bunch of stuff, being a dad and all that. But I do like to see the theme of hope starting to make a comeback. And I hope that is something that continues on. So that's kind of my mini, just kind of explosion of emotions off of what I thought was a brilliant film. And I do hope to bring Professor Aaron and Professor Rob to you, one astrophysicist, one astronomer, to break down the film a bit more together on a live stream, and hopefully that works out. So with that being said, if you'd like to watch any more Dad doing dishes videos in the playlist, you can look at it right here. If you don't mind subscribing, you do that right here, and The video for that podcast will be here eventually. I just want to say thank you so much for watching. Have yourself a wonderful day, evening, morning, or night. God bless.